You're watching the Battered Fans Network.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 29 of the Battered MLS Fans Podcast. I am your host, Daniel Granada, and alongside me, I got Mr. Andrew Barnickel from the Designated Players Podcast. How are you doing, sir?
What's going on, Dan? Thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, man, things are starting to get cooking. We got a lot of transfers going on. We got a lot of rumors going on. And there's some things that are happening that kind of has my head kind of scratching. Not really sure I understand what the plan is, but let's get into a lot of that. But before we do, I got the topics right there. And the first thing I wanted to get into, I don't know if you saw that the MLS had to apologize today.
Yes,
Atlanta.
I did. Yes, I did.
Everybody's waiting to see what Atlanta does. They got the money. They got the DP spots. And the MLS leaked that Kyoto, I don't know what his last name was, from Celtic, the striker, was going to come over to Atlanta. They had to apologize because apparently that was inaccurate. Did you see? And we got Tommy One Time right here, Mr. Atlanta himself. What did you think of the news that the MLS is leaking fake news?
Man, like what baffles me too is everything goes through the league. The league signs the players. So you would assume that they know who's coming in, so they know what stories to post, and it just goes straight over their head. And the funny part is too, you go back and it's a player from the second division of Japan who scored 2 goals in like 2,500 minutes last year. It's like it wasn't even like it was another top level. It was just a different like Japanese. I think it's a Japanese American born player. Yeah, and it's not even somebody who's going to make a blip in this team, if you are asking for my personal opinion. But yeah, the fact that the league signs the players, it all goes through the central league. They then post it, and somebody messed up that communication is so good. I mean, it's chef's kiss.
It was absolutely perfect. And for those of you watching, make sure, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the Designated Players Podcast. And I guess John gave me the perfect opportunity here. They start off every pod talking about scarves, especially when they have a guest. They come and they ask the guest to bring a scarf on. I was on there with them last year. Do you have a scarf to show off now before we keep going?
I don't have one. It's in my I put everything back in my closet. Oh wait, yeah, there we go. I do still have one out from our last our interview that we've got. It's a New York Red Bull scarf. It's still sitting here. This was out during our interview that will kick off our 6th season with Omir Fernandez from the Colorado Rapids. So that will kick off, I think, in about 2 weeks. 2 weeks from Monday. So, but yeah, that's still sitting there. I got one with me. I'll toss it on just for fun. Keep it going. Why not?
And we are going to get onto the off-season topics, but I did want to, before we came on, you were telling me a quick little story. For those that don't know, Andrew does have a soft spot for the Red Bulls. He wanted to watch the final. And could you please let the people know what happened there?
Oh, man, yeah. So I unfortunately was scheduled to coach right during MLS Cup final. So I had turned off my phone. I took my watch off. I turned on airplane mode. I did everything I could to avoid the score, to avoid any updates, so I could watch it fresh eyes and really take it all in. I got all the way back to my apartment. I turned the game on Apple TV, didn't see the score. Everything was ready to go. I click play, skip through all the preview stuff, get to kickoff. The second the ball moves, I get a buffer circle. Apple TV kicks me out to the home screen, and boom, right there in big letters is LA Galaxy win cup number 6. I'm like, it was such a brutal way to see that score line, but yeah, that's just the way it happens sometimes.
You gotta send the formal complaint over to Apple, because that is a brutal way to find out that your team did not win that game, especially when you're trying to avoid the score all day long. But you know,
heartbreaking.
That is heartbreaking. That is horrible. And the fact that you watched it afterwards, I don't think I would have watched it.
Yeah, I had to, because we were doing a recap episode after that. So I had to have some information, but it killed me, because what I did was we planned to record it as soon as I was done. So I was gonna have fresh emotion, and the only emotion I had in that episode was I knew it was coming. Everything was ruined. I was upset for the game. I was upset for the fact that I saw the score early. It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
But now we're back. It's 2025. We're in for a new season. It's gonna be great.
Today was media day. Players are reporting, transfers are happening, and we've had quite a few transfers. Impossible to go over all of them, so we're just gonna highlight. Who do you think some of the players that were the biggest losses for some teams. I'll start off. I think Facundo for Orlando, I don't think enough people are talking about that. I haven't heard anybody talking about it, really. I think that was a huge loss for Orlando. That offense, the way they got going towards the end of last season, the fact that he left to Palmeiras, I think was a huge loss. And I'm surprised that not enough people are talking about it. Who do you think was a big loss here in the offseason?
Man, there are so many to chat about. One of the ones that stands out to me, another one that hasn't been mentioned much, and it's because of the depth that they have in that position, is James Sands leaving out of New York City.
Ooh, that was going to be my next one.
Overseas. Yeah, he, a player who has a ton of underlooked qualities because he plays in a bunch of different positions, but was such a good double pivot player in the middle of the New York City baseball diamond, if you will. Does very, very well, does a lot of the dirty work, doesn't get a lot of recognition. Now is moving on, and it's who steps up next. There's not really that guy who you're like, oh, yeah, easy replacement. We can let him move on. I think it's Justin Hack, maybe, who's been playing a lot of center back anyway. So it's going to be a very, very interesting way to see if they bring somebody in or how they fill that role. I think it's going to be a big loss for them. That'd be one of the first picks I'd go with.
Yeah, James Sand in that congested midfield in the baseball stadium, the way he kind of mans that middle and kind of shuts everybody down. I'm surprised that not enough people are talking about James Sands, but everybody's happy that he's getting a second opportunity in Europe. For those that didn't know, he had one stint in Europe with the Rangers, I believe. I ended up in NYCFC. Now he's getting a second stint. St. Pauli, I think he's where he's going.
Yes, yeah, a club battling relegation, I believe, in Germany.
So I think that one will be big. Now, there's a lot of talk about Alan Velasco leaving Dallas. Now, what do you think is going on in Dallas?
Dallas feels like they are blowing it up and hitting the reset. They've run it back a couple different times with their young attacking core that has struggled to stay healthy. But I mean, for the longest time, it was Ferreira, it was Musa, it was Velasco, it was Arriola, and they were going to run it back. And then with injuries and things not clicking right and a new coach, it feels like they are just blow it up, see what we can bring in, and let's build up again. And let's see if we can let Eric Quill build the team that he wants to build. So, getting good return on investment for Jesus Ferreira. Arriola feels like it's going to be also a very good return as well, depending on what those numbers turn out to be. And then you can start building from there. If you end up selling Velasco for big money, you can go out and again, you don't do this sort of stuff without having succession plan
right, in place.
But you can go out and replace those sorts of players with players that are going to fit Quill's system, very high press, very high energy, big attacking style that he wants to bring in here. But you're giving him the keys. There's no excuses at that point to say, oh, these aren't my players. I had to wait 3 years to recycle everybody out. Now it's my team. You're blowing it up and say, here you go. You get a year and a half, 2 years, go figure it out.
I'm with you. Another name, Lewis O'Brien from LAFC. He's back with Nottingham, and I think that he had a great half-year run with LAFC. And now that he's gone, I think LAFC. I've heard also that Boagna might be out the door, might be heading back to France. I'm not sure what's going on at LAFC because I figured that with Giroud there, what they had around him last year just didn't work. And if they want Giroud to work, they needed to kind of reconfigure the pieces around him. But I've heard a lot of players leaving. I haven't heard a lot of players coming in. So I would say O'Brien leaving also. What do you think about that or anybody else?
Yeah, man, I've always liked Lewis O'Brien, even in his time in DC. I thought he was always a solid player. I was surprised that DC didn't try to bring him in permanently. But LAFC did a good job, capitalizing on that opportunity. And again, for LAFC, one of the things for them is they were big in transition last year. They loved sitting in and then saying, all right, Denny, go. You're right. Go figure it out. And Giroud just is not that sort of player.
Nope.
Especially getting up there closer to 40. The transition game may have gone past him a little bit, which is fine. You just need to figure out how to work him in there. But if you let Bouanga go, which if they hit the valuation you want, fine, go on. Definitely going to see a different style of play than you have in the past couple of seasons from LAFC because there's no Vela anymore. There's no Bouanga. It's now the and you mentioned you want to talk about. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but
No, go for
speaking with LAFC, right? They have brought in Jeremy Ebobisse to balance that out, right? So now you're looking at maybe a Olivier Giroud super sub situation where you can still play in transition, or a lot more, instead of attacking wide players towards goal, it's more attacking wide players for service, right? And letting Ebobisse get up and win those headers, which could fit the Giroud system as well. So yeah, really, really interesting to see how LAFC build out. I think Sharundle has got a big task ahead, especially if Bouanga leaves, for sure.
What do you think about Polito leaving KC?
It was time to go. It was time.
Yeah, I mean, he did. His run didn't. I think people expected more. I mean, obviously injuries hampered him, but definitely, like you said, it was time to go. I don't think that was a big loss, but I don't know what KC's doing either, because they were were they the worst team in the league last year, or one of the worst?
They were up there. They were up there for sure. I believe they were bottom 3 in the West, give or take. Bottom 2, yeah. They were lucky that San Jose took the spoon from them.
Wooden spoon, yeah.
Yes. So KC, we talk about KC a lot being a team that has run it back one too many times. That being with their players and with their coach, Peter Vermees. They keep running back the same group. I mean, they did it in the late 2010s with the back line, Tim Melia, Matt Wiesler, Graham Zusi, like those sorts of players. Now they've worked themselves out, and now they're trying to recycle the front line with Polito now moving on, Johnny Russell moving on, players like that. But every year we would go in, and is it 1 year too many? Is it 1 year too many? Was always the big question, and that seemed to be the case yet again. It was time for him to move on, especially with the injuries and the price that his salary commanded. It just didn't make sense to keep him on there. They can now reinvest. And again, I sit here in a position saying that if we're going into season before the first ball is even kicked, who is going to be on the hot seat? It's Peter Vermees and Peter Vermees only. That being said, Peter Vermees is the only person who decides who's on the hot seat in KC, so I can't imagine he's going to be putting himself there.
Right.
But you got to have some sort of level where it's like, okay, you've been bottom of the table 3 of the last 4 years. You are now moving on everybody who's taking up all these bad contracts and roster space and whatever. It's time to put up or shut up, and that is going to be big for him.
And they found themselves in the Champions Cup, which I figure would motivate them to make some positive moves. And it's looking dire, because you got a little over a month before you play Miami in that first round, in that first back-to-back. And it's definitely, maybe they're going into it thinking that they don't have any hope in that, because I don't see any positive acquisitions as of yet to think that they're going for it.
No, first off, it baffles me we're back already. That is crazy. I love it, but it baffles me we're back already. But yeah, I mean, there are a couple teams that you're looking at, and we can look at Vancouver, for example, who, to my knowledge, have not announced a successor to Vanni Sartini.
Oh, that's the only big open position, right?
I think so. Yeah, everybody else is at least. And here's the thing, right? Like, even with Atlanta or New York, like, there were always rumors, or like, oh, this is who they're thinking about. I haven't heard a peep about Vancouver. Like, what are we doing here? You guys
aren't they considering selling the team? It's a messed up situation up there.
It's a whole nightmare up there. But again, things that just some stuff to keep eye on, and that makes silly season really fun. But yeah, KC is a big walking question mark for me. What the heck is going on here?
Same here. All right. So, one more. Do you think? Well, let me just transition to biggest addition. Do you think Campana is a big addition for New England?
I have gone back and forth on this forever, because one of the again, I don't want to jump too far ahead here, but one of the other topics we're talking about is
go for it.
When you talk about surprising teams, it's something we're going to go to here in a little bit. I did not have on my bingo card the 2 worst defensive teams in the league last year, who were fighting for the bottom of the wooden spoon, basically just flip-flopping rosters saying, let's run it back. Right. So you look at Leo Campagna. Yeah. Leo Campagna joining New England looks really, really exciting on paper. and then you look at the players who they've surrounded him with, and it is a couple of TAM center backs. Okay, one of them is not exciting to me at all. One of them looks like he'll be a decent signing. Jackson Ewell, Tanner Beeson, a bad Alex Bono, Luis Diaz coming back for like a third time to MLS, and a 17-year-old attacking midfielder who is one for the future. But, you know, if Carlos Hill gets shut down, which is tough to do, no doubt, but
It is.
Campagna has benefited a lot of his career from great service. We had this guy, I don't know, Leo Misai, I think is how you pronounce that name, who was playing him in how many 15 games a season or something like that. And that was not too bad of a situation to be in. So it is a great get on paper, but I think there's still a lot to do in New England to make up for their lack of goals last year.
I mean, look, if they can I think the combination of him, Gil, and Langoni is gonna be very fun to watch, because I think that those are three studs up top. I always thought that Campana, if he was an all-time starter on an MLS team, he could put up 15, 20 goals. And I think with Gil giving him service, Langoni, I think that that's going to be a solid squad to watch. So I think it's going to be exciting. Like you said, the defense might still have quite a bit of holds, but I do think that that it's going to be an exciting team to watch. So as far as biggest additions, a lot of people are criticizing the Austin Brandon Vasquez signing. Where do you land on the Brandon Vasquez Austin signing? I know 10 mil seems like a lot of money. How do you feel? I think that for Austin, it's not a bad deal. I mean, what 10 mil is, they overpaid, but I think when you're Austin, you kind of have to overpay.
I'm looking here. So we do a thing where we rate every move. We give our thoughts. We give a grade, all this stuff. I'm looking at it here, and I still back what I've said on my graphic here. This move is, first off, 10 mil is a lot, right? Especially for somebody who really only had
one big season.
Yeah, 1.5 good season. You want to give him the half down to Monterrey, where he was okay. He was pretty good. If Driussi leaves, which I just saw a report that said, you better sell me because I'm not coming home, right?
Did he say that?
In Argentina. Yeah, I just opened it up. It was
oh, okay.
Oh,
I was about to say Austin's going to be my surprise team, but if he's, because I know that he might leave to Argentina, but if they would manage to get him to stay, I think it's an exciting team.
It's We Are Austin TV, who had posted a video from Renzo Pontic. Sebastian Driussi has told Austin FC ownership, sell me because I'm not coming back. So that, and I take that with a grain of salt, of course, as you always do. But right. The thing with Vasquez is he is not an attacker who creates a ton of his own chances. I'm not saying he can't do it at all, but he's somebody who heavily
he's a poor man's Giroud.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, right. And he heavily relies on service. And if you look at that Austin team without Driussi, maybe somebody can step up, or maybe they can go out and find another designated player number 10 that fills those roles. But if you do not have him, Vasquez will be the very, very underutilized. And my we do bold predictions. One of my bold predictions may end up being that he doesn't hit double-digit goals if they don't bring somebody in. That's how close we may be to him being a bust.
I heard the Driussi rumors. I really thought that they would manage to get him to stay. They got this kid Sanchez, They got Sanchez from LAFC, I believe, from Austin. Yeah, definitely not a kid. They still have Alexander Ring. I thought that this team could definitely turn it around from what they had last year. And Brandon Vasquez, maybe not a huge name, but Austin, from what I saw, attendance-wise, they need to figure out how to get people back in the seats. Brandon Vasquez, I think, is somebody that can get some people back in the seats. People that like the national team. I know he's not on the national team, but you like the U.S. players. I thought that was a good acquisition. An overpay, yeah, but I liked the pickup. I thought it was a good pickup.
I think one of the things that's going to determine is which Brandon Vasquez are you getting, right? Are you getting 2023 Vasquez who went off and got sold for $7 million, down to Mexico, or are you getting the 2022 version who you didn't know who he was, right? He was a guy who was getting rotation minutes and then broke out into it, right? That's going to determine whether it's an overpay or right, because $10 million in the current market, to comment there, not a ton of money, big in MLS terms, but not a ton of money in the current market of world football. But it will be if he shows up and scores 8 goals and 2,500 minutes.
I'm with you. Any other additions that you think are big time additions?
Oh yeah, I mean, you've got a couple of them, and I'm going to head over to Montreal. Actually, what are the kings of the intra-league transfer? These guys love a good trade. They love a good
Jalen Neal.
I am going to say Jalen Neal. I'm very, very high on this move. I think it is a very hand-in-hand, works really well relation, right? Jalen Neal needed minutes. He needed to get minutes to get looks into the national team, especially with that center back role in the national team so wide open. There is nobody who's stepped up. Maybe Chris Richards, maybe on his best day. But there are no 2 players who have stepped up and said, we are the out and out USMNT center backs each and every week or game, or however you want to phrase that. He needed minutes to get in there, and Montreal desperately needed to stop leaking goals. I mean, desperately. I think they were like 3rd or 4th worst in the league last year. So I think it's going to work out really, really well for them. He's going to get really good developmental minutes, and if he can get on well and they can maybe add 1 or 2 pieces around him, I think it's going to be really, really good for his development into the future. And I think it's going to help Montreal as well. I really like this move.
I'm with you. I think that he needed minutes. He wasn't getting them. He's he's in his early 20s, no? He's a really young kid, 21, yeah. Mm-hmm. So he's a really young kid. He definitely need to get those minutes. And I think that was a big move also. I think it was maybe not a big loss, right? Ended up being champs anyway, but you want to get those. You hate to lose those young players. In addition, we kind of talked about it already. Seattle, Ferreira. I mean, Seattle you just never think attack with them. Maybe he helps with that. I think that might be a nice get for them, especially since Seattle just seems to get the most out of anybody that's on their roster. What do you think about Jesus Ferreira?
Man, you could have told me that Bruce Arena actually signed for Seattle and not San Jose, and I would have believed you. Going out, running it back with Roldan, Jordan Morris, Jesus Ferreira, Paul Arriola eventually at some point. I mean, it feels like just like an OG 2015 USMNT. Really, really love it. But no, I think it is a really good get for Seattle, who's trying to replace Raul Ruidiaz, a proven goal scorer who's come in and gone really and done really, really well with Seattle. Moves on, and there really wasn't a good succession plan to that. Succession, excuse me. And Ferreira fits that perfectly. I mean, he works so well with Jordan Morris. I think that, and again, if you want to let Morris lead the 9, having Jesus in that number 10 role, which is where I think he fits in best anyway, would be really, really fun to watch, right? Drop him off, let De La Vega go on one side, Roldan go on the other, Arriola go on the other, and just let him create, let him drop off the line, let him play balls in behind, and let everybody else do the work. I'm really excited to see how he fits into this role and to see what Schmetzer can get out of him, because I think this allows him to play Pedro De La Vega as a pure out-and-out wide player, because I think he tried playing him as a 10, as a 9. I think he tried a whole bunch of different things there. But I think he's a better out-and-out. De La Vega is a better out-and-out wide player. Having somebody like that, like Ferreira, who can play as a 9 that drops off or as a pure 10, alternating with Albert Rusnak. I mean, there's so many different things you could do there. It makes a very, very interesting preparation for their opponents. How are we going to deal with all of these players that they could throw at us, right?
So, in talking about I guess we could talk about the Final Four. We talk about Seattle right now. The Galaxy, Pooch is out. Not too much movement going on with Galaxy. How are you feeling about the Galaxy right now?
You know, the Ricky Pooch thing was obviously rough, and then they went and moved on from Gaston Brugman. I don't think that they won that trade. I listen, Red Bull fan, love Sean Davis.
Yeah.
Don't think that they got the better end of that deal. I think that Nashville won that deal. But I also think that they are not going to just make moves to make moves anymore. You know, I know they moved Jalen Neal on. They were rumored to another older, more experienced center back to kind of fill in the depth pieces, fine, whatever. But I think they're happy with what they've got. I think they're happy with, you know, the Royce coming off the bench. They trust Diego Fagundes to do what he needs to do. If the opportunity presents itself, they'll go after it. And I don't know what their roster flexibility is, even with the injury as of. I'm actually gonna pull it up here really quick.
Well, if they were to designate him as out for the year, which I doubt they will, that would open up a spot. But I don't think they would do that. But if they did that, that designation would be open to use for another player for the year. But I think that they expect Ricky Push back before the end of the year. So that's probably something that won't be even played with.
Yeah, so you're not going to see a designated player signing, right? Paintsill, Peck, and Puig are going to take up those DP spots,
and they should be happy with those, right? They should be happy.
No. I think anybody would be super happy with those.
For sure.
You do have an open U22 spot, right? So maybe you're seeing somebody come in the midfield as a U22 player. But again, that sort of position where you're overpaying the salary impact, right? Because you can, is not something you just be like, oh, let's throw a dart and wherever it hits, we'll go find somebody, right? Like that takes a little bit of time and scouting. And there, again, outside of that, there's not a ton of flexibility in there. So how do you make that work? How do you make that fit in? Because again, you got to remember, you got Mickey Amana, you've got Garces, who's was fantastic in the MLS Cup final. You've got players there that make this a very, very solid side with good depth already. Now, losing the guy who led the league in touches by like what 500 from the next guy or whatever
it was an insane amount.
Yeah, that's not something you go out and just replace tomorrow, right? So if you can, great. My guess is you probably won't. They're going to try and put up with it as best they can and then integrate him back in. That'd be my guess.
Rumor that Almiron might be on his way back, but not to Atlanta, but Charlotte. I don't know if Tommy's still in here, but I would love to hear what Tommy has to say about that. What do you think about Almiron coming back? Because a lot of people saying Vasquez coming back is a crap move, going to Mexico coming back, but everybody's loving the Almiron coming back. I'm not a huge fan of seeing players come back from Europe that quickly. I almost feel like that meant they failed. You don't have to look at it that way, but it almost feels that way. How do you feel about Almiron coming back, and not to Atlanta, but to their brethren from just north of that, Almiron to Charlotte?
Well, since my co-host is an Atlanta supporter, I love it because he is fuming right now, and that makes me very happy. A comment on your thought about it being so quickly. It's been 6 years since he's moved on.
Has it already?
Yeah. 5 or 6 years. Yeah, he left in 2018.
What?
If I remember correctly.
You might be right, because it was before the pandemic, now that I think about it.
Yeah, he's been gone for quite a while. Yeah, his move was 2019. Yeah, so it's been 6 years. 6 years
30 already.
Isn't that crazy?
He's 30 already. Wow, man. It doesn't feel like that long ago that him and Joseph were doing
We're doing a little heart celebration. So he's gone on. He's done a really, really good job overseas. And I think if Charlotte can get somebody like that who can instantly upgrade their team, regardless of he's been in the league before, regardless of, he's 30 or whatever, with Ajiman leading the line, Swiderski probably on his way out. They've moved on from Joronen as well, who doesn't play in the same position, of course, but they are clearing space to bring in players.
Yep.
And Charlotte is a team that has shown that they are not afraid of being ambitious. I mean, you saw all the players they were linked to in the mid-season window last year. Yeah. I mean, they are not afraid to go after the big name and go after players who will make their team. Yeah, absolutely. Every team should be pushing that level of ambition, 100%. And if you can get somebody like Almiron who's going to come in and raise your level, you do that. No questions asked, especially when you've got the roster flexibility to do that. So I like the move on paper. Again, I think it'll be interesting to see how he fits in because Dean Smith style of play is not very free flowing attack.
100%. We had Danny on from Charlotte Soccer Show, and he was telling us about how he asked Dean Smith, or he told him, it's kind of boring watching you guys, and Dean Smith took offense to it. Because I mean that's just his style of play. And then Omar that just commented that he didn't fail. I didn't say he failed. I said it's something that I wish I didn't feel it, right? I just can't control how I feel. Sometimes when I hear the MLS guy went to Europe and he's coming back, it almost feels like he failed. But Andrew just blew my mind when he just reminded me that it was so long ago. I hadn't realized that it had been so long that he went over there. But no, I didn't think that he failed, but he was over there. But yeah, Atlanta, we're still waiting to see what they're going to do. They got the money. They got Chris Henderson. And we're yet to hear about a big signing, but I'm very curious to see what they pull off. I don't know. Have you heard anything? I haven't heard anything.
I mean, the only rumor that I've heard is the Furuhashi move, which was leaked and then not leaked and then brought up.
Right.
But now here's the issue with Atlanta is that we've talked about it before, going into the summer window where it was like, okay, they've got all this money, they've got all this, $50 million from all this, but they're not just gonna they're gonna get it right. They're gonna do their due diligence. They're gonna figure it out. They're gonna get a new coach. They're gonna let the coach pick the players, all this stuff. We're a week and a half out from preseason, guys. You've got 50 million you're still sitting on, right? And your biggest signing is a couple of re-signings from your team. You've got Matthias Click you got the coach. You got Matthias Click on a non-DP deal, which, side note, DC fumbled the bag on that completely. And you've got a 31-year-old striker who scored in the second division of Japan twice in 2,500 minutes. Like, what are we doing? And I know more are coming. Like, there's no way that they are going to just sit on this and be like, oh, we'll figure it out later. More is coming. But it's like, all right, we've been waiting this long. Where is it coming? Right.
And I always forget how to pronounce his name. Is it Dayla?
Dyla.
He is a fun coach to watch because he wants the attack. And Atlanta's going to have fun. Whoever they bring is going to be attack minded, and he's definitely not playing that Dean Smith type of football. So no. So whoever they bring, it should be fun to watch because he's going to be very aggressive. And then let me ask about the defending Eastern Conference champs, Red Bulls. I haven't heard anything from the Red Bulls. Eastern Conference champs. What's going on over there in Red Bull world?
We've actually been more active to this point in the window than I think we've ever been. We've got Eric Maxime Choupo-Moting in on a designated player deal, which I don't love.
Right. But you know what? Yes, 100%. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I remember I criticized the hell out of that move just a couple weeks ago.
Don't love that one. Don't love that one. No. I think having him here is not bad. I think having him here on a designated player spot is bad.
Yes.
I don't love the roster designation, especially for the fact I think I saw a stat here. One of our Red Bull friends brought it up that his goals minus XG rating is basically what Dante Vanzier was in the same amount of minutes. It's just replacing him with an older, more expensive version, right? I hope I'm wrong, but we'll see. We then have gone out and filled our center back role. We moved Andres Reyes on. We also moved Elias Manuel on. So we've moved on from a couple of players who haven't quite fit the mold, I guess, for lack of a better term. And Manuel
Andres Reyes had a good run.
I liked Andres Reyes. I thought he was as inconsistent as he was. He had the potential to be very, very good. Now there are rumors that the MLS Cup, I'm sick, I can't play, was him realizing he was out the door and I'm not playing there or whatever. I don't believe that.
I don't believe that
in
either.
The slightest, but
no.
But what's also interesting is we're bringing in players who have connections to Sandra Schwarz. So Alexander Hack, a center back who played at Mainz under Schwarz, comes in, Bundesliga experience, a little bit in the Saudi league as well. Feels very much like a like-for-like Reyes replacement, which is something we need because I like Noah Isla. I think he's got lots of potential. I don't think he's ready to be a center back 1, 2, or 3 in our 3-back system from day one. Could be wrong, but that's it. And then just yesterday, we've gotten Viktor Bogash, a 20-year-old Polish striker who just, 6 months ago, when we tried to sign him the first time, said, I don't want to sign for you. I'm not good enough to play there. So instead, we went back, we upped our offer to pay for him, and now he is coming in as a U22 signing. My Red Bull friends will know this feels like Matthias Jorgensen 2.0. I don't know. I'm not thrilled on it. It doesn't give me the warm fuzzies, but nothing ever does with this club. So
look, hey, you guys rode that somehow all the way to the MLS Cup final, so you just never know. The beauty of this league. True. And then Omar, the Atlanta, if you couldn't tell by his Brandon Guzan picture, Atlanta representation here, Thiago will probably get announced in February. So the deal hasn't completely fallen through, even though it was a messed up leak. All right. Who do you think could be a surprise team? Way too early, obviously, but just based off of some of the stuff that you've heard already, any team you're like, you know what, this team might surprise us.
Oh man, I haven't even thought about any of that yet.
Okay, I'll jump ahead.
Go right ahead.
Until you told me about the Drusy thing, I really thought Austin FC. I thought Austin maybe with Brandon Vasquez there, if Drusy behind them. I thought Alexander Ring and Sanchez in the midfield. I thought, you know what, this team might be building something. It doesn't take much to make the playoffs. I think Austin could maybe surprise some people, and that's where I was gonna go with my surprise team. And then you told me about the Drusy thing, and then I thought, maybe not. And Charlotte, you got a great defense, and then you got a playmaker in Almiron. I mean, Charlotte could. I mean, they were solid last year because of their defense. Give me a good playmaker, and who knows what could happen, even though Sudarski's gone. And those are my two that I would just randomly throw out there. Again, things can change, but just randomly throw that out there.
Yeah, I think the other thing with Austin too, I believe Alex Ring is gone. So Alex Ring no longer. That is the Ili Sanchez was the Alex Ring replacement, if I remember correctly.
Oh, look at
that. Which could knock you down another peg or two.
That's it. Yeah, I'm out on Austin. That's it.
Austin done. I love it. One team we haven't mentioned at all, who have made one very, very big signing, FC Cincinnati with the Kevin Denke move. The team coming back is solid. Now, this is another team that is going to depend heavily on the future of Luciano Acosta. If you can bring him back with Orellano on one side and Kubo and Denke leading the line. And heck, I know Alvaro Barreal is rumored out to Santos, I believe, but find a way to keep him around. And that's a fun team. That back line is still as strong as you'd like it. I am not predicting.
But didn't Lucio Acosta basically say he was out without saying he was out? Or he might actually just say it.
No, he basically was saying he's ready to move on, though I haven't heard anything yet. Little rumors here and there. I don't expect them to be pushing very, very high. One team I am a little interested in, just based off of the moves and the new head coach bump, is FC Dallas, right? The moves that they've brought in, outside of one of them from my quick notes here, all very MLS experienced players, right? Lalas Abubakar in the back, somebody who I've enjoyed as a player most of his time in MLS. I thought he's been very, very good. Anderson Julio, who was a great little super sub option for RSL, very strong, powerful, quick, change of pace, can score lots of goals, turn half chances into goals, right? Shaq Moore at the right back is a really, really interesting move, and just 150K GAM for somebody who is World Cup experienced, I think is a very, very good move for them.
And how old is he now, though?
He's only 29 or 28, rather.
Shaq Moore,
isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy?
He's been around forever. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking the same thing. I'm like, there's
28.
no way that he's only 28, and yet here he is, right? And then the last one, right, their payment outside of the massive amount of GAM that they got out of it was also Leo Chu, right? Somebody who I think last year injury ridden, right? Didn't get a lot to see him. The year before that, he comes in and I think it was 12 goal contributions in just a little over 2,000 minutes, right? Somebody who's very quick, very dynamic, creates a lot of chances. Now you got Pitar Musa up front, ready to tap in those chances. Something he didn't get a lot of opportunity to do last year. I think it could be something that'd be really, really fun to watch.
But I've heard that Peter Musa might be on the way out if somebody offers it, because their asking price is really high. It's like 18 plus. But if somebody comes knocking and gives them that, they said that they'll sell. Now that's a high asking price. Right.
Yeah. If somebody drops a record, top 5 record transfer to leave, see ya.
Yeah. Would that be the highest? What was Almada? Almada was 20?
Yeah, I think it'd be top 5, if maybe maybe top 7, but yeah, you would have to. And at that point, right, then it's wrap it up and let Anderson Julio lead the line and see what you can do in the summer.
Right.
But again, I was very high on Dallas last year until they got all hurt and injured and all that good stuff. I'm not as high on them this year. But
if Velasco leaves and Musa, Musa might not leave, but Freire,
right.
I don't know.
But and that's the thing, I'm kind of tiptoeing around them as a we'll
possible.
See. We'll see.
Right.
Yeah.
I got an interesting question here. Why Columbus is not making any transfers?
They I think
they feel comfortable with what they got.
I think they're working on retention more than anything.
Yeah.
How do we make sure we don't lose Cucho, we don't lose Rossi, we don't lose Nancy?
They got a solid squad already.
Yeah. Like I said, their U22s are opening up. They can bring in a couple of those, but yeah, I that'd be my focus there. As I said, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Now I know that we knocked them out as Red Bull in the playoffs, but we didn't deserve that in the slightest. Like there's no hiding the fact that we should have absolutely been killed in that game, in both of those games.
Right.
So maybe bring in a U22 here or there. You got a good decent bit of homegrowns working their way up, but there's not much they need to do. I mean, think of their team and who needs to be replaced, right? Matan just left, so you got to bring in somebody to bring him. But who do you look at? Like, oh yeah, we can improve on him.
No, I'm with you 100%. I think that that team it's built for the long run, especially with Nancy running the show. So I don't think they need to make a lot of moves, like you said. Just focus in on retention. Has LAFC made any transfers? Omar Campos is gone. So they have an open spot there at fullback. I don't think Kai Kamara is coming back. He'll join his he'll probably join his 27th team next season.
Yeah, anything that'll let him get up in the goal scoring chart, right?
Sanchez is gone in the midfield, and there's rumors that Boagna might be out the door heading back to France, but that is not confirmed.
Jesus Murillo as well. Murillo on his way out, if I remember that correctly.
LAFC has the fans are not happy. They've lost more than they've gained as of right now. But again, I think they might be retooling to work around Giroud, and also for the summer. In Miami, they saw this in 2022. They knew that the big sign. I'm sorry, 2023. They knew the big signing was in the summer. They did basically nothing in the winter transfer window. They had a couple pieces here, but they made sure that the money was available for Messi and friends. I think LAFC is putting all their chips in on Griezmann in the summer. Do you think Griezmann comes over to LAFC in the summertime? Because I think he does, and I think that's where the move is.
It's interesting. I know he wants to be here. I can't imagine with Lloris and Giroud around that he goes anywhere else.
Right.
And
Carlos Vela is like his best buddy, and that's like a LAFC legend.
Yeah. I'd love to have him here, no doubt. I'd love to have him here. I just hope he stays on the West Coast, because then I don't have to deal with him for
exactly
3 games,
Kamara is the Josh McCown of the MLS. That beautiful comment. Anu.
Love it.
Anu Wiseman. He is the Josh McCown. And here, Omar saying, good surprise would be San Jose and bad surprise would be Miami, simply because Mascherano said he's worried, which is worrying for a team that desperately needs to win trophies while Messi's still there. Well, just to clear that up, he said he's worried because they don't have necessarily the depth yet, but there's a lot of players coming in. They're linked to all of Argentina basically at this point. But if you look at the starting line, they're set at starting lineup. They have a pretty deep midfield. I don't think the only position of worry for Miami right now is their center back, because they have absolutely no depth there, and goalkeeper, because everybody just assumes that Drake will not be the starter for them when the season starts. So they're just looking to see who it is that's going to fill that role, which Sergio Romero seems to be the name that's been linked recently. He told Boca in Argentina that he wouldn't be coming back because he received an offer that he could not refuse, but he didn't, or the report didn't mention what team it was that offered him whatever it was. So we'll see where that goes. But Inter Miami, I don't think they're
Are we
too
really
worried.
down that bad on? Are we down that bad on
Drake
calendar?
Unfortunately, I'm not. But unfortunately, a lot of the fan bases and speculation is that he's going to get replaced.
That's crazy.
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe I've missed him, but.
All right. And then Justin here. Andrew, what moves does RSL need to make to rekindle the early season success from a year ago?
Oh, that loaded question. But first and foremost, you gotta replace Carlos Gomez, right? That guy had what, when he left your team, 45% of all goal contributions by the time he left, and then Chicho Arango fell off a little bit, and
Chicho Arango never recovered from that suspension to the MLS All-Star game.
Missing
the All-Star game ruined his season.
Again, talking about MLS going to MLS, right? I've never seen somebody whose suspension can be served in an optional game that not everybody gets to play in. But
right, but he was never the same.
I think they overperformed on Carlos Gomez's input. I think he carried a team farther than they expected to be. I love Pablo Mastroeni as a coach. I think he has all the tools to be successful. I'm not so sure that he I'm not so sure that he is going to be able to easily replace Carlos Gomez. Again, that's somebody who came in and we were like, oh yeah, he might be okay. He might, give you 5 or 6 here, and he blew up, right? And because he blew up,
Diego Luna's still there.
Yeah, Diego Luna's still there, but when he blew up, everybody's like, oh, we got to worry about him, and that allowed Diego Luna to do things. That allowed Chicharito to do things, right? Matty Crooks looks like he's on his way out to allow Diego Gonzalez to take over that number 10 role. He has to step up to a designated player level, which will he? I have no idea, right? So lots of players who need to bring their level to where they are being paid to bring it up to, right? Diego Luna being Young Player of the Year, fantastic, right? Cannot be just Diego Luna carrying RSL to
the
greatness,
load, right?
Yes. Need lots of other players. I know they brought in a couple of younger wide players. I think, and I'm not going to try and pronounce his name. I'm sorry. I know he's a Polish winger, U22 initiative. I'm not going to try and pronounce that name, but he needs to step up like Carlos Gomez did last year, right? Or to a level that at least balances the load. If you can balance that load, you allow players to then shine in individual moments versus, okay, well, we're going forward. Arango can't score. Wide player can't score. Diego, figure it out. That's not a recipe for success. I'm sorry.
Right.
So that's what I would do.
And we got some Drake defenders. Drake needs a good back line. He couldn't do it by himself unless he's playoff Guzman. Playoff Guzman. Look, there's nothing like a playoff Guzman. Guzan.
Goose, hyped up Goose is different level, baby.
Yeah, that was something else. That was definitely something else to watch. All right, so that was it for the transfer news and all that other stuff that's happened so far. It keeps being rumors, and I kind of wanted to get your input because I'm kind of curious, and I'm going to ask everybody that comes on the show. Changing of the calendar. How do you feel about a possible changing of the calendar and following what a lot of leagues around the world follow, which is the start of or the end of summer is when the season would start and end around May. How do you feel about that possibility?
Like I said, I'm a big Drake calendar guy. I'm just kidding. We did a whole episode called "What If" back when this first broke, and
we'll make sure that you follow Designated Players Podcast if you haven't checked that out yet.
Yeah, the basic thing we came to, Connor and I, was that you can change it, you cannot change it. They both have goods and bads, and all you're doing is flip-flopping the goods and bads, right? Do I think that the calendar change going to the European style right now benefits overall? Yes, but not massively, right? Lining up with the transfer market is very, very good.
I think
Lining
that's the
up
biggest
with,
problem.
yeah, absolutely. Huge, very, very big. Getting the cold weather games versus the hot weather games, I think is just a wash, right? You're either gonna be really, really cold, or you're gonna be really, really hot. It's a wash, and do with that as you may. It doesn't matter to me,
Right.
really. Like I said, I live in Carolina, so it's always all right down here, except for today, apparently. Um, so it's it, I think it's relatively washing, and then you're just going to flip flop them. But I would like to see the international breaks and the international calendars. All that, we won't lose players for international breaks at that point because we will line things up like that. I think that'd be nice to see as well.
I mean, we lose a big bulk of players during those international tournaments that happen during the summer. So that I understand. But the international breaks throughout the season, I think they've done a better job of giving those weeks off during the season. Now, we had a couple people on from the Northwest. We had somebody from Minnesota, Minnesota, Seattle, and Vancouver. And they all hated the idea because they said that in the winter, it's impossible to drive around unless you schedule all road games for the northern teams during those months. Or they said that they don't like it. I understand some of the positives. I also don't like the fact that they'd be taking it away in the summertime because I feel like if you're not watching, baseball is all we got. If they take away the MLS during the summer, we got nothing. And I like looking forward to going out to MLS games during the summertime when I'm off. So I think that it would be a crime to take that away. I think it's an easier way to make the league grow when they're the only thing on to watch. More eyes are going to be on it because there's nothing else to watch. So I think that they're doing a disservice by eliminating the summer games. But that's kind of my take on it. But we'll see. I mean, a lot of people are saying that they think it's coming.
Yeah.
How does that transition? How do they even start that?
I think the rumor was they would do a similar sort of like MLS's back tournament to facilitate that change, which again, you're going to need to, if you're going to do it, you need to rip the Band-Aid off at some point and just do it. And then you have to figure out, all right, how are we going to bridge that gap? It's going to be what it is. And like I said, I get the weather part of it, and I get that sort of things too. And like I said, when the schedule dropped, the first thing I did was, all right, when am I not coaching? Which games can I get to? A lot of the games that I want to get to are now all in, around me, the Charlottes, the Atlantas, they're all relatively closer to me. I can get there, which is great. Take that away in the summer and push to a fall, spring calendar. Well, now I'm coaching in the fall, I'm coaching in the spring, coaching in the fall, coaching in the spring. And I can't do 2-hour trips because I'm coaching. So that sucks. And I would hate to miss, because like I said, going to the game live is the best part for me. I love taking that in. That atmosphere is amazing. Do I like sitting at home and watching at times too? Sure. But would I love to be the one Red Bull fan in Atlanta this March? Absolutely. You're damn right I will. And it's going to be wonderful. But
Wednesday games kill me. I can't make it to Wednesday games when I'm working, but in the summer I'm off. And whenever they have Wednesday games during the summer, I'll go to all of them. But you put a Wednesday game in March, in April, in December, November, January, I'm not going. That Champions Cup game against Kansas City, well, besides the fact that it's really expensive, it's on a Wednesday. I'm probably not going to make it. So it kills me. Give me those summer games. And I think it's going to be a crime. And then Richard Greenberg here, big Toronto guy. He's in Toronto. I'm not sitting in this weather because it's freezing up there. So I think that they need to take all that into account. But we'll see. A lot of people are saying that it's going to happen. So I'm not looking forward to it if it does. And then I'm going to hit you with way too early prediction. For the Red Bulls only. Don't worry. Red Bulls only.
Okay.
Defending Eastern Conference champs. Way too early prediction. How do the Red Bulls perform next season?
I don't have the highest of hopes.
Okay.
I think we overperformed. So I think we overperformed where we were in both the playoffs and this kind of hypothetical situation. Like, oh, if Emil Forsberg's healthy, we're a top 4 team.
Right.
Sure. The reason we're a top 4 team is because everybody else sucked. Right. I mean, how many times did we lose? We lost like 20. We went 20 games with like 3 wins, and we dropped from like 4th to 5th.
That was wild. Yeah, that was
wild.
Insane.
It was insane. Yeah. So I don't have a ton of like high hopes. That being said, I'm looking at all these other teams right now. I think Chicago gets better. I don't know about New England. I don't know about Nashville.
I think Davey 95 is a crazy person. They had a cakewalk to the cup. They had to beat Columbus.
I don't know if I'd say
Orlando.
cakewalk. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd say cake. And by the way, all on the road.
Mm-hmm.
We had one home game. So I wouldn't say cakewalk, but I don't disagree that he says we regress. What I'm looking at here, though, right? DC's a maybe. I don't think Toronto's getting better. I don't think Philly's getting better. I don't think Nashville's gotten better. I don't think New England's gotten better. Chicago's probably the only one who's gotten better. Then you've got Atlanta, who will get better. Montreal
get better, yeah.
Should get better, right? Montreal, maybe. New York City, maybe. Charlotte, maybe. Orlando, maybe, and then the top 3, right? I could see us pushing for a top 4 spot. It would not surprise me if we end up back in 6-7 where we were last year, and then see where it goes from there. But I also never have high hopes for this group. So,
and we can end it with this. I touched on Facundo and Orlando just a second. Just revisit that. Do you think they're gonna? I think Facundo is a bigger piece to their puzzle that people aren't talking about enough, and I think that they might regress a little bit. They had a hot end of the year. Now I know that their schedule was a little soft on the softer side towards the end of the year, but regardless, they won the games. Facundo was a huge part of that. What do you think about Orlando coming in next season? I got John here saying they're close to signing another U22 Colombian kid. 2 things real quick, John. One, I love that they're going for Colombia because in Miami, they only go for Argentines. I love that they're going Colombians. And 2, Colombia spelled with an O, not a U. John, come on. What are you doing to me, John? It's with an O, not a U, John. How are you feeling about Orlando?
I think they have a very interesting setup. Watching them play, and again, they haven't moved on from a ton of players. Facundo obviously has moved on, but haven't like lost a ton of those big name players. That being said, they also haven't brought in a ton. So if they get that Colombian player across the line, I don't think it's a like Facundo Torres is another player who is not just somebody you wake up and is like replaced with insert U22 player here. Somebody that's going to need to take time to develop in there, no doubt. But they still have Ivan Angulo out there. They still have Luis Muriel, who can maybe step up to a level that he should be playing at. Duncan McGuire is still over there.
Muriel, I thought Muriel disappointed me because he's Colombian.
Yeah.
I'm Colombian. For those that I'm Colombian, and I thought it was a huge signing, and I was surprised. I thought they would do much better. Go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you off, but yeah, Muriel really surprised me.
No, like I said, he might be a player the David Goss theorem may apply to next year, where came in midway through the year, didn't quite impress, now has half a season and a full preseason under his belt. Now we see the best of Luis Muriel.
John, let me know who the Colombian kid is. I'm curious. I'm sorry.
I got it here. It is his name is Nicolas Rodriguez. He's from Fortaleza in Brazil.
No, not familiar.
Yes, but haven't heard much of him either.
And then this is true to your heart since you're a Red Bull fan, so I know you want to see NYCFC fail. Too early for NYCFC, in my opinion. Give them 1 year with Pascal Jansen. NYCFC, well, we'll see. He said he is not the Facundo replacement, but another piece.
Well, they better find somebody then, because
for sure
that's a big one. Now, full faith in Oscar Pareja to fill in and figure it out, because he's done it everywhere he's ever been. But it's going to be difficult, right? He was a very big part of what they needed to do, and it's going to be difficult just to walk in without him. So, yeah, like I said, I think the Eastern Conference last year we were looking at it as like, this is going to be a bloodbath. It is just there's 7 teams that could take up the top 4 spots. This year, it's like there are 11 teams that can make up the top 9 spots. Who are the top 3? Probably the same top 3. Who makes up the other 5? I don't know. Where do they go? I don't know. They're all just kind of mid. So it really is anybody's game. I think it's up in the air for anybody to take over. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch from a different point of view this year.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. And preseason starts in a week, next week. So it is crazy, and I'm really excited about it. And I'm excited to keep talking to more people on this show. I know I'm going to bring John on. He's in the chat. I'm going to bring him on soon also to talk Orlando. And it's just fun. And Andrew, I wanted to thank you. And make sure you guys like the video. And make sure you follow Designated Players. Andrew, let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, so we are on mainly well, first off, anywhere you get your podcasts, you can go and follow us there. But on the social media front, it's Twitter and Blue Sky. YouTube is kind of our biggest platform right now, is where we are pushing. I think we're at like 624 subscribers right now, which is very exciting and something that we are trying to push all the way up for next year. And then TikTok is another one that we are on, not as much, but yeah, you can go follow us there, interact with us. The best part about this is chatting with people who love the league as much as we do. So, you know, come on, hang out with us, and let's chat.
Absolutely, you learn so much just talking to other people about this. And Davies saying that Miami should have hired Xavi over Mascherano. Xavi wasn't an option. Everybody thought that it might be Xavi. Xavi wants to stay in Europe, so he wasn't even an option. So, and then. And Mascherano won't get fired if he doesn't get the number 1 seed. He will get fired if he doesn't get a trophy. That I'll tell you, because expectations are very high. Jorge Mas wants trophies, and he expects trophies, plural, this season. So the pressure is definitely on Mascherano. But we'll see. I think they have a good squad, and like Andrew was saying, the East is kind of weak. So you know, anything can happen. All right. If you are listening on audio, thank you for listening all the way to the end. Please give us 5 stars, comment, review, all that other good stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, please, if you're doing it right now or later on when you watch this after the live, please leave us a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe. We come on at least once a week talking all things MLS. And for those of you guys in the chat, as always, you guys are the best part of the show. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us for the last hour. Well, we went an hour. All right, Andrew.
Yeah, we went a while, yeah.
Wow, yeah. We appreciate you hanging out with us, and appreciate everybody, and hopefully this MLS thing can continue to grow, the content creators, the league in general, and it's always fun. So we'll be back next week and talking some more MLS. So until the next one, have a good one.